Hello everyone. In this video we'll be taking a look at the essentials and rules relating to valid consideration. We've already seen that consideration is whatever is exchanged between parties to a contract. That is, consideration is the price for which you purchase the promise of the opposite party. So this is Dr. Mariam Narona. I hope you find this short video informative and that it helps you to clearly understand what are the essentials of valid consideration. This topic pertains to the first chapter, Law of Contract, of the TYBCom 2013 pattern syllabus for Savitribai Phule Pune University. The topic we are exploring, just to repeat once again, essentials and legal rules relating to consideration. Now, consideration is fundamental to formation of a contract. According to Section 25 of the Indian Contract Act, an agreement without consideration is void. This is barring some exceptions. I have a separate video on the exceptions to the rule, no consideration, no contract. But by and large, except for those exceptional circumstances and situations which are defined in exceptions to the rule, no consideration, no contract, no valid contract can be created without consideration. So in order that you have a contract which is valid and which is enforceable, some consideration must pass between parties to a contract. Consideration must move at the desire of the promisor. So the act or the abstinence which forms the consideration for a promise must be performed or carried out at the desire or request of the promisor. If it is done at the desire request of a third party or without the desire or request of the promisor, it will not be good consideration. So what does this mean? This means that appointment of an employee can be carried out only by an employer. If it is made by anybody else, it will not be valid, it will not stand. Sale of property has to be by an owner. If I own a flat, it is registered in my name, only I can sell it. If some third party sells it, means if it is my agent, it's okay. But if it is some third party, some other family member in whose name that is not registered, consideration cannot be valid. It will not be good consideration. So to explain this, I'd just like to quote a popular case which is referred to the Durga Prasad versus Baldev case in 1880. Now, Baldev is a shopkeeper. Durga Prasad, on the order of the district collector, incurred his own expenditure and built a market premises, so a market complex. Okay, and the shopkeepers who occupied the shops in that particular market complex, they promised to pay Durga Prasad a commission on the articles which they sold in their shops. Now Durga Prasad filed a suit to recover this commission which they had promised. The court held that the promise to pay commission was not supported by consideration, since Durga Prasad, who was the promisee who had constructed the market complex, had not constructed that market complex at the desire of the shopkeepers, that is, they who were the promisors in this case, against whom he had filed the case. But Durga Prasad had constructed the market complex at the desire of the collector, who was a third party to this particular contract, in which the shopkeepers had said that they would pay him commission. So, similarly, if one person's house is on fire and his neighbor, acting on his own free will, helps to douse that fire, to extinguish that fire, then the person who is extending the help cannot demand money for services from the person who he saves or he helps out, because he has voluntarily extended this help. Now, if the person who he has helped willingly gives him something, it's okay, but he cannot demand it as a matter of right. Consideration must move at the desire of the promisor. This is what both these examples explain. The third rule: consideration may move from the promisee or any other person. So, valid consideration means that consideration can move from the promisee or any other person in a contract. So the act of consideration may be done either by the promisee or any other person on behalf of him, provided that the act or abstinence is carried out at the desire of the promisor, which is what we just discussed in the earlier slide. So in other words, there is consideration, and it is not important who has given it. That is, a stranger to a consideration can also file a suit on a contract, provided that he is party to the contract. So for this, let's take up the Chinnaya versus Ramaiah case, 1881. An old lady made a deed of gift of her property in favor of her daughter, that is Ramaiah, with a direction to pay a certain sum of money per year to the maternal uncle of Ramaiah. The maternal uncle's name was Chinnaya, and Chinnaya was the old lady's brother. So the old lady who has made a gift of her property to her own daughter had a brother Chinnaya, and she made that transfer, saying that okay, this is transferred to you, but the condition is that you have to pay a certain sum of money every year to my brother. Now, the daughter Ramaiah accepted this condition, and on the same day, she executed an agreement in favor of Chinnaya and agreed to pay a certain amount to Chinnaya. After this, after some time had passed, the daughter refused to make the payment of this annual amount to Chinnaya, and then Chinnaya filed a suit against Ramaiah to recover this amount. And the court held that even though the consideration did not move from the old lady to Ramaiah, it moved indirectly from the old lady who was Ramaiah's mother to R, that is Ramaiah. And so Ramaiah cannot deny payment on the ground that she has not received anything from Chinnaya, that is her uncle. Why? Because in principle, that transfer of property was made to her on this condition that you have to pay a certain amount of money to my brother. Now, the brother had not transferred the property to this girl. His sister had transferred, but still it was transferred based on that condition. So even though there was no direct contract between the uncle and the niece, still the uncle was entitled to recover the amount payable to him. So as such, he was a stranger to the contract, but he was not stranger to the consideration, right? Because indirectly what he was supposed to receive was linked with the consideration which Ramaiah had received. So I hope this is clear. Consideration may move from the promisee or any other person at the desire of the promiser. Consideration may be past, present or future. I have discussed this topic in detail in a separate video on kinds of consideration or types of consideration. Please refer to that. It would suffice to say now that consideration may be past, that is where it has been executed and passed between parties in the past. It may be concurrent, that is right now, and it may be in future. So please do look at that video. The other rule relating to consideration is that consideration need not be adequate. It should have some value. So let's explain this with an example. Supposing you are traveling from one place to another and you forgot a bag with some valuables in it. There was some jewelry or there were some electronic items which costed some lakh of rupees, and you forgot it in a cab or in an auto rickshaw, and the driver of that cab or auto rickshaw was an honest person, and they looked for you and they came and returned the valuables to you. Now you decide to give that auto driver or cab driver, you decide to give him 5,000 rupees, and it is not matching with the lakhs of rupees item which has been restored to you. But it's okay. You are giving him something which has some value. It need not be of whatever is the value of the item which is being returned to you. Similarly, if A decides to sell his car worth rupees 20 lakhs to B for 2 lakhs, if the parties are consenting to this agreement freely, then even though the consideration is just a fraction of the actual value of the car, the consideration is valid. The agreement is also valid. So consideration need not be adequate. It can have some value. Now, in order to be valid, consideration must be real. It should not be illusory. That is, it should not be an illusion. Consideration, when we say consideration should be real, it means that consideration should be legally and physically possible. Like if you say that you give me 10,000 rupees and I will make a dead man alive, this is not physically possible, and such type of contracts should not be entered into. They cannot stand as valid contracts because they may be impossible to achieve. So you cannot say that you pay me so much money and I will jump off a cliff, a height of, or I will jump off a building, 15-storied building or 40-storied building, and I will not break a single bone. Then such kind of things are not physically achievable and practically possible. Therefore, consideration must be real. It should not be an illusion. It should not be something which is out of reach, and it should not be something which is legally it is not possible. Now, consideration must be lawful. So, in order to be lawful, what should consideration be? So, consideration must be something which is not forbidden by law. It should not be something that if it is permitted, it would defeat the provisions of any law which is in force. Consideration should not be fraudulent. It should not be something where it involves some willful deceit. It should not be something which involves or implies injury to the person or property of another person. And it should not be something that the court regards as immoral or opposed to public policy. We will discuss the immoral and public policy later in detail, but having said that, I think it's pretty clear that in order to be lawful, consideration should not be something which is unlawful. It should not be illegal, it should not be fraudulent, it should not cause harm to anybody. Now, consideration must be something which is other than the public duty of the promisee. That means if you say that you're going to pay money to a police officer to investigate into a crime, or to a fireman for dousing or extinguishing a fire, then such an agreement would be invalid, because the duty of the police officer is to catch a criminal or to investigate the crime, and of a fireman is to extinguish the fire. So you need to take care that whatever you are offering as consideration, or whenever you are paying somebody, that you are not paying them to do something which is their public duty. So let's sum up. Let's just very briefly talk about the essentials of a valid consideration. That consideration is essential to the very purpose of a contract. No contract can be created without consideration, but there are certain exceptions to the rule: no consideration, no contract. For that, as I've already mentioned, please check out the video on that topic. Then consideration must move at the desire of the promisor, not of any third person or a stranger. Consideration may move from the promisee or any other person, but it is always at the desire of the promisor. Consideration may be past, present or future. Then consideration need not be adequate, but it should have some value. Consideration must be real, it should not be an illusion, it should be legally and physically possible. Consideration should not be unlawful. Consideration must always be lawful, and consideration must be something which is other than the public duty of the promisee. So thank you for listening, and don't forget to hit like if you like the content in this video. Please do check out the content on this channel and share it with other students who you feel might find it useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.